grass and thorny weeds. Bam! He slammed into the trunk of a tree, his head jolting back with so much force he thought he might have broken his neck. Seconds passed before he lifted his head, relieved to be away from the smoky wreckage at the top of the hill. He looked the other way. Had he rolled another 5 feet down the slope, he would have disappeared off a steep embankment and into a gully. He lay still on grass and dirt, drinking in fresh, cool air as he stared back at the flames that still hissed and popped, sending sparks into the air. The smell of gas made him think of the driver. Was it too late for the driver to escape? On his belly, he clawed at the dirt, making his way back up the hill. With only one good leg, he made it just a few feet before an explosion left his ears ringing. The car burst into flames, sending debris into the sky. He ducked at the sight of metal coming at him. A car door flew past and nearly took off the top of his skull. A loud, prolonged squeak coming from the wreckage prompted him to lift his head in time to watch the burning metal slowly tilt his way. Shit! A hulk of burning rubber and metal came crashing down the hill after him. Putting his weight into his knees, he lunged for the nearest boulder, plastered his body flat into dirt and grass, and waited for the flaming mass to sweep him to his death. The earth rumbled beneath him. The air was hot, the smell haunting. A whoosh of movement stirred the air above as the mass swept overhead. Another explosion erupted, creating a wall of heat behind him. He pried his face from the dirt and looked down at the wreckage, now wrapped around the tree he'd left only moments ago. Whoever had been inside the car could not have survived. He used his forearms to push himself over so that he was lying on his back, staring up at a dark sky. The kaleidoscope of pain arising from cuts and bruises, broken bones and blistering skin stopped him from moving again. Just as well. He needed to shut his eyes, if only for a moment, before he attempted to claw his way back up the hill. It felt good to close his eyes, even peaceful despite the fire burning a few feet away. A blaze that now sounded like the crackling flames you might hear coming from a fire pit at a campground. He wondered about the driver then. Was it a he or she? And why didn't he know? Where had they been going? Each question brought another, but he drew a blank when it came to the answers. The thing that worried him most, though, had nothing to do with the driver and everything to do with himself. Dizzy and short of breath, he realized he had no memory of where he'd come from. He didn't know if he was single or married. No recollection of any children, friends, or family. Who was he? Chapter 1. Sacramento, California. Present day. Jessie Cole, private investigator, had been detained inside a small room at the Sacramento Police Department for 30 minutes now, as Detective Aaron Roth lectured her. Another police officer stood in the corner. She zeroed in on Detective Roth's mouth as he talked. It was a habit she couldn't seem to break. In grammar school, she'd had a friend who was deaf. Twice a week, Jessie had attended speech reading class with her, not only for fun, but because they were inseparable. She also knew American Sign Language, ASL. In 8th grade, her friend had moved away, but Jessie never lost her ability to read lips or sign. In his mid-40s, Aaron Roth was 5'11" and had a cleanly shaved head and a thick mustache. As he rambled on, lecturing, reading her rights, she thought about the first time she'd met the detective 10 years ago. The eagerness she remembered seeing in his eyes appeared to have been replaced with annoyance and resentment.
"Did you hear a word I just said?"
he asked. "Yes." His brows drew together.
"And?"
Although his mustache covered half his upper lip, she could still see that his lips were pale. Redness in color was said to indicate better cardiorespiratory fitness, but also meant a higher estrogen level. She couldn't remember where she'd read that useless tidbit, but it had something to do with being able to distinguish male from female based solely on the lips. She glanced